Welcome back to the Topping Off podcast. My guest today is Chad Charles, owner of Charles & Associates out of Greenwood, South Carolina. Chad is a fourth-generation builder with more than 31 years in the trade. He's a master builder of South Carolina, and he's the current president of the Lakelands Home Builders Association. He's also a cancer survivor who spent years leading Habitat for Humanity before building Charles & Associates into a Best of South Carolina award winner that does everything from leaks and squeaks to full-on remodels. Chad, welcome to the show. I've been looking forward to this one.
Hey, yeah, it's great to be here, Kevin. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, fantastic. So for folks meeting you for the first time, who is Charles & Associates and what do you guys do?
Yeah, so Charles & Associates, we're a full-service remodeling company. We have a handyman division as well as design build all the way through a complete whole house remodel. We don't do any new construction. We do room additions, that sort of stuff. Yeah, so we have an electrical division, also a plumbing division, which really just handles service work. We don't do new construction, plumbing, or electrical. They also handle the remodels that we do, so they take care of the wiring and plumbing on those renovations that we do. So from hanging a flat screen TV or changing a light bulb all the way through complete renovations of home. That's what we do.
And so this is kind of a philosophical question because I talk to a lot of builders that don't want to do handyman type work, and then some of them love it and say it's an excellent conduit for bigger projects. Is that sort of like, are you maintaining that division as a means of like facilitating your larger projects, or do you just want to make sure that you have like full spectrum of service?
So we really want to have a full spectrum of service. And so when I got back into business with Charles & Associates, that was kind of like my main focus. We wanted to be kind of a service type business, plumbing, electrical, handyman, that sort of stuff. And the remodeling just kind of evolved from there. I mean, it came from that. So anyway, we still do a lot of handyman stuff. It's not as busy as it once was for us, but we're more heavy in the renovations than we are the handyman stuff. But it definitely will not go away, because we love both. We like being the full spectrum. When somebody thinks of anything around the home, we want to be that household name. Like, just call Charles & Associates; they'll take care of it, regardless of what it is. So.
Yeah, and before we hit record, you kind of mentioned you love Greenwood Lake and Greenwood and Lakelands. So what's the market down there like?
So we have a lot of retirees moving in, from New Jersey, Connecticut, upstate New York, moving in. The lake is just absolutely beautiful. It's a small lake. It's owned by Greenwood County, easy to permit, docks. It's just a great lake. Whether you like to fish or whether you like to ski, either one, it's a great lake to be on. So that's a great market, is the retiree market, and then our hospital system's growing like crazy. We've got industry that's kind of moved in, which is creating a lot of jobs. So anyways, the market's just kind of wide open here.
Yeah, no. So I'm sure with people moving down to retire, they're coming down with sort of like selling their high price house in Connecticut. Like, are they going heavy on the remodels? Like, are they, I guess, sort of like moving into aging in place projects, or are they trying to like make, sort of like family compounds, or, is there any kind of characteristic thing that you're doing for those people consistently?
Yeah, so most of it's kind of aging in place. A lot of people that are moving here are in their early 50s to mid 60s. And so they're still very active, got a lot of life left in them, but they're thinking about 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. So they're starting to make some changes. Like, if I do break my leg, what am I going to do? So that's a big thing. So when they go in and do renovations, we're thinking about walk-in showers, curbless showers, a lot of different things. Eliminating carpet, going with hardwoods or LVP, or harder surface. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you're a fourth generation builder, right?
Yeah, on both sides of my family. So both my great-grandfathers were builders. Both my grandfathers and my mom and dad both were in the construction industry. Yeah.
Unavoidable.
Unavoidable, that's right. I got sawdust running through my veins, man. That's just...
Do you have a kind of a first memory from job site?
Yeah, I remember helping my dad rebuild a dock at the lake. And I think I was 5 or 6 years old. And I remember just dragging whatever I could out to him, whether it was nails or tools. Yeah.
That would have been a tough job to fish the nails out of the lake.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
Yeah. So were you always dead set that you would stay in construction, or did you sort of like have any time away and came back to it?
So no, I've always been in construction. And when I was in high school, I really thought about becoming an architect at some point, and I did take some drafting classes. I did apply for an architectural school and was accepted, but I never went. I just stayed in construction. So
Yeah, nice. That's great. Like you said, it's hard to get the sawdust out of your veins.
it really is. Yeah.
So kind of with an eye on the horizon, you're a happy grandpa. So any prospects on the fifth generation coming up?
You know, I got two boys and a daughter, and both my boys, I don't think are really interested. They're doing really well in their professions. My daughter is actually going to come to work part time starting next week, and she's going to start handling our social media stuff and that sort of thing. So we'll just see if she kind of hangs in there. And then I do have four grandchildren. I've got a grandson and three granddaughters. So we'll just have to wait and see.
It's probably a good opportunity. Like we talked previously before the recording, you're very colorful in your video content. So it's probably like a reality show in there somewhere.
Yeah, but somewhere it could be. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
instead of the hosts coming in, you're the personality and it's like your day to day. Yeah, that's awesome. So we talked a little bit, just kind of like about your story that led up to you creating the company. Would you like to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. So my dad changed. So I grew up working for my dad and my grandfather. Um, And so, like you were talking about a while ago, I always knew that construction was going to be there somewhere. I did think about architecture, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, but the construction piece was just always there. I just loved working with my hands and creating something. My dad had a cabinet shop that my grandfather ran. And so I worked in there building cabinets. Dad taught me how to do trim work, how to frame. And so I worked with him every summer. I worked with him, till I was in my late 20s. And then in 1998, my dad decided to do something a little bit different. So he went into real estate kind of full time, but yet part time. And so that kind of left me like, what am I going to do? So I started a remodeling company in 98 because all I wanted to do was strictly renovations and remodeling. And at that time, I wanted to create a remodeling company that was different from everybody else. I wanted it to be a professional remodeling company. I wanted to do things that nobody else was doing as far as customer service, how we treated people's property, how people looked at construction, and the blue collar workers in that field. So that was kind of the reason I went into business, is because I wanted to do something totally different. And it went really well. And in 2010, I was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, and they gave me 6 months to live. And so at that moment, when you've got 6 months to live, you got to make a decision. At the time, my kids were 13, 15, and 17. And so we just really locked the door and walked away to fight the cancer. And thank goodness, 16 years later, I'm still here. But we did, at that time, we lost everything we had, financially. But that was a decision. We knew that was going to happen. That was a decision we made. But it was well worth it to spend time with your family, to spend time with the kids, and to fight it. And so therefore, it paid off 16 years later. Like I said, I'm still here. And my dad at the time, we had some maintenance contracts with nursing homes and assisted living facilities. So my dad came in and did get my trucks and picked up like 3 or 4 guys that were working with me, and he finished those maintenance project, contracts, and continued. And he piddled, for another 12 years, and just piddling around and doing a few things. And he transferred it over into Charles and Associates, which was the real estate company. He just changed the name and took everything over into it. And in 2011, about a year after I was diagnosed with cancer, I went to work for Habitat for Humanity. So I was the director for our local chapter of Habitat. Then I went and became our state director for Habitat for Humanity. And then In 2019, I went to Myrtle Beach as construction coordinator there. They just made me a really good offer. And who doesn't want to live at the beach, right? So my wife and I moved to Myrtle Beach, and we were there for 4 years. And then at some point, we just decided that we wanted to move back to Greenwood. And so we moved back. We bought a house here, and I purchased Charles and Associates from my dad. I bought it from him, all the trucks and tools and everything that he had. And then we've just been expanding. But because of being in business once before, I knew some of the mistakes I had made, just getting started. I understood a lot of the obstacles and hurdles. And so I felt like I had a little bit of a head start. So we were able to avoid a lot of those things. And I knew where we needed to focus as far as marketing. And we had paid a lot of attention to technology in the habitat world. So I was able to bring a lot of that with me into being back in business for myself. So that's how that evolved. But once I got here in 2022, when we moved back to Greenwood and started Charles and Associates, one of the funny things, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, where we were headed. I wanted to stay focused in the service work, and then remodeling kind of evolved out of that. But my wife, after we moved back and I just bought the business, actually I finished the purchase in January of 2023. In June of 2023, my wife was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, which was, so we already had a lot of things in place to build the business, but then my wife was told we had to move 2 hours away for at least 30 days, and then it turned into 6 months, and then it turned into a year. And so I was traveling back and forth. But during that process of having to be with her an hour and a half to 2 hours away, I realized there was another piece that was missing. And as I was trying to do everything myself, and I had to learn I needed to delegate. And so previously had hired an office manager that was handling the scheduling. We'd hired some other office help to kind of help manage some things, but I realized, hey, I'm the bottleneck in this. And so if we want to grow and continue to get, serve our customers the way we want to, our clients, then I need to delegate. So that really helped me understand the importance of delegating and not being the bottleneck and not having to have my finger in every single thing that took place. So those two things, my battle and then again with my wife's battle did help us understand some of the things that needed to be done in order for us to grow. So they were a blessing in one way, but not in others, right? So.
And the company has, not evolved in the way that it has changed what it does, but basically grown and expanded and added the service. So leaks to squeaks and elevating lifestyles. What is the crossover like between the teams? Are there some people that are the resources shared? Or are they treated as completely separate?
So no, so a lot of the resources are shared between the two. So really our handyman are really great. They're very customer focused and they understand the process. So if we do a lot of kitchens and a lot of bathrooms. So if there's, and a lot of those start out as just a handyman project. We go in and change out a sink or we do a few things. And so the client's already very familiar with, that technician or field staff. And so they are very comfortable with them. And so they say, hey, I want to remodel my kitchen or I want a full bathroom remodel. We can put that person there as the lead carpenter because they're very familiar with all aspects, the plumbing, the electrical, the drywall, the painting, then ceramic tile. They're very familiar with all of those trades and can do most of them. So we just put them over there on that job and they're treated as the lead carpenter or the lead on that job. And they do all the scheduling, they are ordering the materials and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, and
there's a lot of shared trades there.
Do you track, I guess, a conversion rate? How frequently do the small jobs turn into larger jobs?
So we're running, that's about a 22% conversion rate. So if we go hang a ceiling fan somewhere or we change a patio door out, oftentimes about 20% of the time that will lead over to a much larger job within the first couple of months. Now, the conversion rate's much larger if they're like, oh, you changed the patio door for us 2 years ago. We need to get our kitchen remodeled. And that we don't look at the long term of that. We do look at repeat customers, but like we do focus on how fast do small jobs turn into larger jobs within the first 6 to 8 months.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm really fascinated that some companies don't want to do handyman things. And yet I talk to again and again successful construction companies that like they do the handyman stuff to basically pipeline larger projects. It's kind of, I mean, I said it's kind of like paid advertising, right? Like you got paid for the job and you make the bigger job. And a handyman can't do an addition or a renovation, right? So it's sort of like you can do both and they can only do one. So like if they're hiring a handyman, they have to then find a contractor, but like you have a greater opportunity of market share, I think, to do it. So
It is, and a lot of people don't like the hand. I mean, it's hard to become profitable in the handyman world. It really is. If it's just you and one guy, you can make a good living. But when you begin to grow, it's a tough process to figure out how to become profitable in the handyman business, especially with all the insurance and the vehicles and the tools and everything you have to have to be a reputable company.
and if I saw correctly, you're offering handyman packages. Is that correct? Like you kind of
Yes.
productize it, which I'm sure helps control some of those costs and your overhead. So I guess, where did you get the idea to do the productization for not only the handyman stuff, but all of your work?
So from a handyman, so right, you're right. We do packages on the handyman. We have bathroom packages, kitchen packages, and we're working on some other things as well. But so we offer the handyman packages because we just were researching other handymen and how they were profitable. And I visited a couple of them, one in Atlanta and several, and they said, hey, these packages work really well for us. Like, a half a day handyman package and a few other things. So we've just began to expand on that. And so we have backsplash packages. We have, a half a day. We have pet door packages. We have all sorts of things. So then I just kind of looked at it and like, you know what? I wonder, it would just be real simple if we created these bathroom and kitchen packages. So people are like, I wonder what a bathroom remodel costs. And they're just tire kickers. At some point, they can go to our website. It explains everything that's included. There's 4 packages in kitchens and bathrooms, and they're pretty close in price, except for like a simple refresh in a bathroom, and it's not a full remodel, but it is a refresh. So it's new faucets, new shower valves, painting, a lot of, it's virtually a new floor. It's virtually like a new bathroom when you do that. And same thing with the kitchen. We're not tearing out cabinets, but we're painting them, changing out the sinks, new tops, backsplash. So it gives people options. And so that has worked really well for us. Now, when you look at it, some people go, God, that's expensive. But if you look at everything that we have included, it really isn't when you start comparing apples to apples. But when you first look at it, sometimes that sticker shock is there, but it's worked really well. People understand that when they call us, they've got a good idea of what it's going to take to remodel their kitchen. So it's worked really well for us so far. That's how that kind of came about.
And looking at your kind of like spectrum of customers, spectrum of services, I know that you also offer financing. So do you find that to be like a highly effective sales tool to close jobs?
We don't. Most of our clients either pay cash or they've already got a HELOC or something of some way to pay for it. Sometimes there's a few people that ask, and so we offer it. One of the softwares we have automatically offer it, and so every time we send out an estimate through email, it sends them the opportunity to finance it. And so we probably finance 7 or 8 jobs a year through them, and we really don't get involved in it. And our conversion rate right now is about 42% of everything that we look at, so that's right where we want to be is right around that 40% conversion rate. So, I mean, if we were dropping real low, we may look at, hey, how can we increase this? Is financing one of those options that we could, really push to get our conversion rate up? So, but right now we, like I said, 7 or 8 is how many we finance a year, and it's through in the software we have automatically sends that out. So,
And I have to ask, because you've cited a few numbers in the conversation so far, you seem to be very much on top of your, I guess, metrics. So has it always been like that? Have you worked with like coaches or I guess like, tell me, I guess, how you got your acumen on understanding all those things?
so my son is a accounting major, and so he's a chief business officer for a university. So anyway, he's said, hey, you really need to look at these numbers and what's the industry standard for conversions and those sort of things. So I've really started paying a lot of attention. But it was also one of those things that I learned, in the early 2000s, late 1990s, like I needed to pay attention because I wanted to know, like, should I be winning 80% of them? And if I'm winning 80%, am I too cheap, right? Or my price is too low and am I really profitable? How does all this look? And so I was already watching some of those numbers, but with my oldest son, he was like, hey, you need to really get a better handle on these numbers and figure this out. And I said, okay. So with his encouragement, I started paying a lot of attention and then talking to other professionals around the country to figure out, what is the average conversion rate. And then we balance that with our P&L to make sure that those numbers are all balancing. So
Yeah, it's funny that as much as people get hyped up on marketing and the visuals and the excitement of it, it's like so much of it just comes down to the math.
that's exactly right. Yeah.
Old boring math.
That's right. Whether you're laying out a Raptor or whether you're marketing or whatever, it's all math, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. So I know one of the other things that you've kind of added to the company is you're now working in design build capacity. Is that right?
Yes, we've got an architectural designer. He's actually an interior designer, but where he went to school, they did a lot of exterior design work as well, a lot of floor plans. And so he came to work with us, a little over a year ago. And so he's doing a really good job. So he does a lot of our kitchen and bathroom layouts. He's done a few room additions. We also do plans for other remodelers. So they'll come in and say, hey, can you help us? Because we're very limited in really draftsmen and architecture here. We're in a fairly small market. And so we can turn it around much faster than a couple of draftsmen. They're backlogged so far. So we don't mind working with other remodelers to help them design something. So he does that as well. But primarily it's everything we do in-house.
Oh, that's great. And so we have him, and then what does the rest of the team look like?
So we have office manager and scheduler. So he really kind of schedules all of our field staff, handles the call, office manager. Then we have, then I've got an operations manager slash financial manager. So Cheryl, she's the one that was originally my office manager. She's been with me almost 3 years now. So she's handles really all of the financials, the accounts payable, the accounts receivable. She stays on top of all of that and gives me our reports, looks balance sheet, the P&L, all of that sort of stuff. She and I work very, very close together. And then she helps with the scheduling. So if it gets out of balance or out of whack, she steps in and helps Nick with all of that. Then we have a handyman salesperson, and he handles all of our small stuff. And usually we look at that as a dollar number. So if it's like $12,000 to $15,000 or less, he's usually taking care of that. But he doesn't bid any bathrooms or kitchens or major renovations. So it's usually a bunch of small stuff. He does bid on structural repairs, floor systems, that sort of stuff. So those can get up there. But so most of the time, it's usually about $15,000 or less he's taking care of, and we can gauge that by the phone call when they initially call in. And then we have TJ. He and I tag team the remodeling stuff. He's our designer, but he also does sales. And so he and I tag team the larger project in sales. So that's my inside staff. We have a project manager. He usually runs 2, sometimes 3 larger remodeling projects. So room additions, large kitchen renovations, whole house renovations. He usually takes care of a lot of that, where we have a lot of not a lot, but we have more subcontractors than normal on a job. So he'll kind of manage those, along with working with our lead carpenter, whoever's on that job. So that's that. And then we have, if we were fully staffed, we would have 9 field people, but right now we're down to 5, and so we are in a hiring frenzy kind of. But we are very strict. We're very picky and choosy about who we hire. So it's not like we can just run an ad and hire the first person that comes along. There is a process in which we go through to hire somebody. So we're 4 people short right now in the field.
Is that one of your larger challenges, is proper staffing?
Yeah, I would say that's probably our largest hurdle, is finding quality, skilled craftsmen.
Yeah, sure. That seems to be industry wide. So I've heard it cited that for every 1 person that enters, 5 people are retiring out of the industry.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, wow. So I guess sort of in the growth and the team growth, do you recall any sort of like specific hangups or any sort of like significant hires that you say like, yeah, when we hired that person, that was like a real jump forward?
When we just hired this new project manager in February. That's been a real jump for us. It's helped us out a lot. We're able to fill in some of the gaps where we don't have the field capacity, to be able to utilize some subcontractors. So that has really helped us, keep pace with where we need to be dollar volume wise and project volume wise. That's really helped us out a lot. So having him come on board has really, really helped that, and been able to utilize some subcontractors to do some smaller things. Let's see, and anytime we can just find somebody who's been in business for themselves who want to come join a team, but yet still be autonomous to some aspect, that's really the type of people we're really looking for. Somebody who understands the business, who understands what it takes to make things work and happen, and are very skilled in their trade. So that's what we like to have. And they just like having the ability to have a support team behind them if they run into obstacles, but they don't have to handle the paperwork. And so when we started looking at that caliber of person, that's really pushed us forward as well, because they understand the customer relations, they understand the process, and it's not like, oh, I got to have this, and they're running to the hardware store 3 times a day, right? They go, oh, they can think a little bit ahead. So
sure, the entrepreneur, I guess they call it sometimes, where it's like the entrepreneurial mind, but in your organization. So,
yeah.
Now I want to talk about the hard hat hustle, which, if for those listening, if you've not seen that, definitely check that out on YouTube. It's got some great content there. You've got a real content engine up and running. So I guess sort of like, what was the evolution of, where'd that come from? And, what's your experience been in doing all of that?
Yeah, so it's been great, and I love Hard Hat Hustle. It has been on hold for a little while because we're getting ready to rework it completely. All of our social media stuff has really been kind of on hold for a little while, and then for the last 6 weeks, things around here have been in just a real frenzy. So we haven't done much at all in 6 weeks for sure. But I wanted to highlight other professional businesses locally, whether it was a heating and cooling company, whether it's a mortgage company, a real estate agent, pest control company, whatever it may be, and just talk about the things that homeowners really needed to look out for, and give homeowners an opportunity to get to know a professional company that was local and that they felt comfortable calling. So that was one reason we kind of started that, is really just to kind of educate homeowners on the things they need to look for, especially like pest control, we think about ants and termites, but there's also moisture control that need to be taken care of. And it's not just, what about carpenter bees? What about, carpenter ants and all of those different things that can really destroy a house, mold and mildew, moisture. How do you control that? Who do you call to take care of it? So that was a great so those are just one of the reasons we wanted to do that. And I've loved it. I mean, it's just been great getting to know everybody on a little more personal level because we talk about, their kids, we talk about their dogs, whether they hunt or fish or play golf or whatever it is. So it's been really great getting to know these guys a little bit better and gals.
Yeah, sure. That's awesome. And would you say like has it had your intended effect on the business? Like because I understand you're like co-promoting those entities and your entities. Like, what's the impact been like?
Yeah, so by doing that, we have gotten some referrals from those businesses, which has worked out really well. And that was not our intention originally, but it has worked out really well. I'm glad to see that. And then same thing, we give those people those companies referrals too, not just through, hard at hustle, but if somebody calls and says, hey, I need somebody to come, I think I got termites, we refer them over. So it works out really well both ways. And so we enjoy that part of it too, because referrals are a large part of our business.
Have you found it changing your recruiting at all? Like, do people sort of come in knowing more about your company to work for you?
A little bit. So we get more people knowing about our company through TikTok than they do the hard hat hustle.
Yeah.
Because up until 6 weeks ago, we were doing 3 to 5 little 30-second TikTok things every day or a week. And so we got more impact from that. I think just people recognize us and going, hey, thanks for sharing that tip, or hey, thanks for that. I enjoyed watching that. So when you're out and about, you see it, we hear a lot more about the TikToks than we do the YouTube and the podcast, Hard Hat Hustle.
I mean, I love that you're talking about TikTok for recruitment because, again, it's the number one thing that most people are struggling with. And, I kind of asked them, like, well, are you on TikTok? They're like, no. It's like, where do you think young people are? Like, they're
right.
you got to go where the fish are, bud.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You don't want to throw your hook in a dry pond, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. No, a lot of contractors also either kind of like nervous about video or feel like they don't have the time. Was that a hard habit for you to build, or did you just kind of go with it?
I just kind of went with it. I told you before we got started, I'm just kind of a wing it type person. Like I get an idea and like, let's just try it. So that's what I did. And and it's paid off for the most part.
Yeah, I agree. Like when I sort of started working in content, like you're not going to be great at it, like very likely, but like anything else, practice makes perfect, right? So like you will never be perfect, but you will be better than what you were yesterday if you just kind of like, look at it. So for those listening, just put your camera out there, let it watch you work.
That's right.
So you're the president of the Lakelands HBA. So tell us a little bit about that and kind of like why you went into that and, what you sort of, I guess, experience in that organization.
Yeah, so I believe in professional associations. Like, the construction industry has been great to my family over the last 100 years or whatever it is. It's been really great. And so I just feel like I should be giving back to an industry that has been good and provided a livelihood for me and my family. So I really wanted to give back and not just be a member. I wanted to give back and be involved and get engaged. And that has just been really great. I've met a lot of great people. We got a lot of referrals from builders, even other remodelers. They refer clients to us, which has worked out really well. That's, but just being a member, just being on the board and understanding everything that goes on behind the scenes and helping direct how we as an industry give back to the community really makes a big difference and impact on me personally. But just like there's a lot of perks to being a member of National Association of Home Builders. We get discounts on all sorts of things. We fight at our state and national level to help reduce cost and to fight some, overreaching code that they're wanting to put into place. So all that means a lot to me. That anytime we can try to reduce the building cost or to keep something from coming into play that would cause the housing prices to rise significantly. If anything we can do to help change that as an industry, I look forward to being a part of it. So, and then, just the other, peers that I meet, it's just been phenomenal. It's been great. So I'm the president. This is my second term. And so it'll end in December, but it's been really wonderful serving as president of Lakeland's Home Builders Association.
Certainly, thank you for the service in the organization. I've been fortunate to meet a lot of NAHB people on this podcast, and many of them are chapter leaders, or even a few episodes ago, we had the chair of the Remodelers Council nationally. So he was able to just really talk about how after the recession, joining NAHB was just such a rocket ship to basically learn how to navigate through it, because you could communicate with other builders that are weathering the storm, as opposed to doing it on your own. So,
yeah, it's very beneficial. And there's a Remodelers Council. It's about 2.5 hours away from me, but we are a member, but we're an at-large member of the Remodelers Council. And we just joined Club 20. And it's a new one that started in May. And then we had a tragic thing happen in our family 6 weeks ago, which was the same week as the very initial meeting. So I had to miss it. So hopefully I'll get to join that group this fall. We're getting together on the West Coast to tour a manufacturing facility. So, but they graciously understood my issue and why I couldn't make it to the initial meetings. But I'm looking forward to being part of the Club 20 membership, Club 20 remodelers through the NAHB. I think that's going to be very beneficial. But, there's all types of certifications through Home Builders Association. I know they've just relaunched their Certified Remodeler Professional designation. So we're going to work on that. And I always believe in education and staying on top of the industry. And, that's one of the reasons I became a certified master builder through our state. That was very beneficial, just going through the education and the classes and talking to other master builders. And then I just think there'll be a lot that'll come out of the Club 20 also.
That's you're the, I think, third person now to mention the excitement about the Club 20 and just how much you can get out of it. So I look forward to hearing how it's going for you.
Yeah, I'd love to share my experience once I get in there a little bit. Yeah,
definitely. Do you find you've been in the business for a long time? I guess in recent years, what have been some of the changes you've seen, like either in services people want or like technologies that have sort of come into it?
I think technology is probably the biggest change. Everything with bathrooms and kitchens are just kind of like trends. Is it tile or is it shiplap? Whatever it may be. Or is it the color of the paints? Those types of things. But do you want a peninsula or an island? Those things are just kind of like trends that change. I think the biggest change I've seen is in technology, through the software, the way we can communicate with our clients, even AI doing a lot of our estimating. And, we use AI and estimating quite a bit, really trying to get us to some kind of range. And so that way we can turn around an estimate fairly quick. Usually, if it's a whole house remodel, we try to get that out in 3 days, which normally would take us weeks before. But if we can kind of get something to a range to present to the customer and go, hey, do you feel comfortable with this? Does this sit within your budget? And if they say yes, then we can move forward. But it's easy, just AI has just made a big difference, even in how we design, and then clients are oftentimes using AI to create a space, whether it's their kitchen or bathroom or outside living area, and go, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And so it gives us a great idea. Before, everybody was cutting pictures out of magazines and gluing them in this notebook and handing them to you, but now they're just sending them electronically and go, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for. This is what I want to look at in my house. So that helps. That helps a lot. So I guess AI has been the biggest change technology has.
Yeah. And I guess sort of speaking of software, do you use construction management software for the business?
We do. So we use HOWZ, HOUZZ, and so we use their scheduling software. It's a little bit cumbersome, but we're making it work. But it has a really good client communication tool with it. It has a pretty good estimating system with it, and then naturally a lot of people are very familiar with their marketing pieces, like being able to find a contractor or to get bathroom and kitchen ideas or outdoor living ideas from there. So, that it's a all-in-one tool for us for our bigger projects. So, some of it is great, some of it's not so great, but it works pretty good for us.
And you've kind of built a company at this point that could be 4 or 5 companies separately on its own. So
Right, it could be. Yeah.
for someone kind of getting into the industry, what are some of your nuggets that you would share?
You know, if somebody, I would choose to start out, I would choose one thing, like a niche, whatever you enjoy doing, whether it's a kitchen or bathroom, or is it decks, or is it whatever, and I would focus on that and get that ironed out and understand how that's working and how you make that profitable. Then you can move that into other areas. And that's probably, I would get into a networking group without a doubt. I think networking is the biggest marketing piece you can do, is getting referrals, because when you have someone who gives your name, that means a lot more than somebody finding you on the internet. So if you can get referrals, so anytime you can join a networking group, focus on one or two things, whether it's decks or kitchens and bathrooms or whatever it may be, and figure that out in the process, and then you can grow from there. And I would also look for a mentor, without a doubt. I'd find a mentor that said, hey, I love talking to young guys, and I'd love to do anything I could to help them out, that are going into business for themselves. And there's a lot of older guys, even retired guys, that would love to sit down and help them. We might not understand all the technology that's out there right now that they would be using, but as far as business practices and helping somebody get started, there's a lot of knowledge out there that you can get for free if they just take the time to seek out that person.
Sure. No, absolutely. And you've mentioned a lot of your marketing things throughout the episode. So anything else that you really advocate for, like truck wraps or signs or anything else that you feel like has been worth your while?
Yeah, so without a doubt, our vehicles are probably our biggest lead generator, without a doubt.
Yeah.
We've got 11 trucks on the road. We don't do full wraps. We do have our company name, our website, telephone number, and just a very brief list of things we do, like plumbing, electrical, handyman, remodeling. That's basically it. So, and we always make sure we keep our trucks washed and clean.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do a full wrap, but I think having your name professionally put on your truck is a big thing. So we do that. We have Google. We do SEO. We run Google ads. We do a few other things. We update our website continuously. We probably change it every couple of months. We're adding something, at least every 2 months, we're adding more content or changing some things around. Then, so Google social media is really big. We do a lot of posts. We don't do a lot of social media advertising, but we'll probably get into that a little bit more moving forward. We don't do any flyers or mailers. We do some email marketing, but very little, maybe twice a year. So we fail a little bit on that. But right now, our leads are right where we want them to be. Our conversion rate's where we need it to be. But we're always looking like, what do we need to do to make sure that it stays there? So social media marketing will probably pick up a little bit in the coming months with it, especially in the next 12 months. and some more email marketing would probably definitely go.
And that was for audience who didn't catch that was another subtle reminder to watch your numbers.
That's right. That's right.
Conversion rate is exactly where they want it to be because they track it.
That's exactly right.
That's fantastic. So this is the Topping Off podcast. Topping off is that last beam going up. So after 31 years and 4 generations, do you have a topping off tradition?
I don't, but I really feel like I need to plant an American flag on the top of a room addition or something that we're doing. I feel like we need to, but we don't have a tradition, but I've got to start one. We got to figure something out. So
I have to say, I was very honored in my last interview, which hasn't come out yet. The person said, "We don't have one, and you are exactly right that we should have one. So, like, we will make it part of our company culture." I said, "Wow, that's I'm here to learn about you, and you're getting things from me. So, it's I think you agree this is an industry worth celebrating, whether it's cold beer or a pair of shoes or an American flag on the top of the building, it's quite a momentous moment."
yeah,
Well,
when you brought out topping off, I had a good friend of mine who built high-rise motels and stuff, and that was their topping off thing. Like they would plant the state flag and the American flag, and I think they broke a bottle of champagne or something on the top when they put that last floor on. And I'm like, so when you asked me, I was like, maybe I need to plant the American flag or something on top of it. But yeah, we need to do something for sure.
I know that it's more used in commercial construction, but I think the original tradition comes from Scandinavian builders that worked in the construction. And so originally it was that they would tie, I think, like an evergreen to the last beam, a sort of like, the purpose of the evergreen is like like eternal life, right? Like stays green.
Right.
So, yeah, awesome. Well, Chad, thank you so much for coming on this episode. Appreciate you, sort of sharing just so many aspects of your life and business with us. Is there any final thoughts you'd like to share?
That I can think of other than you just got to watch your numbers, man. Anybody getting into business, please watch your numbers. That's the biggest thing I can tell you. And if anybody thinking about getting into the business, they're welcome to reach out. I'll be happy to help them in any way I can. Although I still make a lot of mistakes, but I'll be happy to help them in any way I can.
Do as I say, not as I do.
That's right. I can tell them what not to do. A lot easier than I can tell them what to do. So, yeah.
And where can people find you, just so they know the best place?
Yeah, so they can find us online at carepairremodel.com, and it comes up like care pair, but it's carepairremodel.com. They can call us at 864-223-3043, or they can go on and look up Charles and Associates on Facebook, Charles and Associates Greenwood on TikTok. Let's see, I don't know what our Instagram is. We don't use that a lot. But then they can also check us out on YouTube at Hard Hat Hustle. And so that's also on our website and maybe a link on our Facebook page. But anyway, that's how they can reach us.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Chad, thank you again. And for everybody listening, if this was valuable to you, please like, subscribe, share. If you're on YouTube, share it with a friend, leave us a comment what your favorite thing you learned was, and we will catch you on the next episode.